we will be learning something about extra medullary cord compression. So in this video we will try to learn some basics about extramedullary cord compression. What is the basic etiology, what actually it is, and how a patient of extramedullary cord compression will present clinically. So first, to just learn the basics, spare me the engineering drawings, but yes, let us see the basics. How things are there, like this is the spinous process of the vertebra. This is the body of the vertebra. Engineering drawing I am doing, and this is the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord. So as we know, dorsal ganglia, sensory and motor nerves, they become the spinal nerve and they come out like this. They exit like this, and this is the vertebral body, spinous process, lamina, and this is the substance of the spinal cord. And as we know, again in this diagram I am trying to tell, here is the long tracts in the spinal cord. As we know, spinothalamic tract, corticospinal tract, and the fiber arrangement in these tracts are from outside within: sacral, thoracic, from outside within sacral, then the lumbar fibers, then the thoracic fibers, then the cervical fibers. Same in the corticospinal tract, outside are the sacral fibers, then the lumbar, then the thoracic, then the cervical. But here in the dorsal column, the arrangement is different: from outside within, outside cervical, then thoracic, then lumbar, then sacral. So to understand this is very important. These are the fiber arrangements that is in the spinal cord substance. So when we talk of, after this diagram, let us see that when we talk of extramedullary, this is the medulla. This is the medulla of the spinal cord. When we are talking of extramedullary cord compression, that means the disease is either 1 in the vertebra or 2 in the dura which is covering the spinal cord. The dura matter which is covering the spinal cord, here or here. So extramedullary cord compression means either the lesion is in the vertebra, that is the extramedullary extradural, either the lesion is in the dura which is covering the spinal cord, that is the extramedullary intradural cord compression. To make things more simpler, let us draw a diagram like this. So these are the vertebrae here. Say for example, this was the spinal cord, this was the covering of the spinal cord, the spinal dura. The spinal nerves are coming out from the spinal cord like this. This is the spinal roots. And we are talking of extramedullary cord compression. That means either our lesion is in the vertebra or in the dura, spinal dura. This is the basic diagram where we can understand, where the lesion lies. Now, in the earlier diagram, when we are saying that a lesion is present in the vertebra, it is extending like this from outside within. So extramedullary cord compression from a vertebral lesion outside within, or it can be a extramedullary intradural lesion which is also doing the same thing, compressing the spinal cord from outside within. And we also know when the spinal cord substance is compressed from outside within, we have already remembered the basic structures, the basic long tracts in the white matter long tracts. Say for example, this is the corticospinal tract and this was the spinothalamic tract. How the fibers were arranged: cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral. So this way our pathology will gradually compress and the clinical features will be presenting like this. So if we go one by one, first we talk of any lesion present in the vertebra. So what are these lesions? Say for example, it can be vertebral osteomyelitis. It can be metastasis. It can be infection, most commonly Pott's spine, tuberculosis of the vertebrae, or it can be a prolapsed intervertebral disc. Prolapsed intervertebral disc. These are the common conditions where there will be a vertebral lesion will cause a cord compression. So etiology is over. We are talking of extramedullary extradural cord compression due to vertebral lesions. So now how the clinical presentation will be. Coming down to the same diagram to be more clearer now. So once the disease is present in the vertebra, the first thing will be vertebral pain. Vertebral pain will be localized to that vertebrae. The pain is arising from the bony substance of the vertebra. Localized to the vertebra, there will be vertebral pain. Okay, there can be deformity, spinal deformity. There can be deformity like a gibbous, an acute kyphosis. The acute kyphosis in the spine. When you examine the spine back of the patient, there will be, you can find a gibbous or acute protrusion or a kyphosis. A deformity most commonly seen in vertebral disorders like Pott's spine. So you can see the vertebral deformity, vertebral pain, vertebral deformity. And when you are examining the patient, when you are compressing the spine posteriorly, when you compress the spine, the patient will have a pain when the particular vertebrae is pressed. That is another clinical sign. That is a fairly localizing sign. You will get a localized tenderness when you are compressing the spinous processes posteriorly. Okay. So these are the main things that will happen. Vertebral pain. What other symptoms? Now the lesion is, say for example, extending like this. The first thing after the vertebral pain, it is encompassing the roots, the spinal nerves and the nerve roots. So the second most important finding will be a root pain. How to define a root pain? It will be an acute lanciating electric shock like pain which radiates through a particular dermatome. It will radiate to a particular dermatome and it increases with any maneuver that increases the intraspinal pressure. What can be those maneuvers? Coughing, sneezing, Valsalva, any maneuver or just bending, irritating that vertebral segment, it will cause root pain, and I will describe how a root pain looks like. So when you have a history of root pain, it is obviously extramedullary. It can be a feature of extramedullary extradural or intradural. Extramedullary extradural can also present as root pain because this is the second structure which is involved. Now it still further progresses. Now it is entering into the spinal cord substance. And now the anatomy becomes important. Cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral. If we talk of the motor tract, corticospinal tract fiber arrangement, and the lesion is compressing like this. So there will be upper motor neuron signs. And see the sacral fibers, legs will be involved first. So here is the trick. This is the basic trick where, say for example, the cord compression is occurring somewhere in the vertebral level, cervical or thoracic. But when it is compressing the spinal cord substance, weakness may start from the legs. Spasticity can be seen in the legs first. Difficulty in walking, spasticity, and the lesion is lying somewhere up, upper motor neuron signs. So this is when the motor system is involved, it involves the early sacrum. So sacral fibers, leg weakness. Now let us talk of the spinothalamic tract. What happens? Again the sacral fibers are lateral. So there will be early loss of sacral sensation. Early loss of sacral sensation. Sacral senses are early involved. And the anesthesia is an ascending type. Ascending anesthesia, because as the compression sacrum, then lumbar, then thoracic. So there will be an ascending anesthesia with early sacral involvement. This is another clinical features of extradural cord compression. Now lastly, what about the bladder fibers? In the spinal cord, the bladder fibers are more medially situated. So late involvement of bladder. More or less, sometimes in extramedullary extradural cord compression, they are usually symmetrical presentation. Symmetrical presentation, that is one thing, and sometimes they can present as a classical Brown-Sequard like presentation. Brown-Sequard syndrome. What is this Brown-Sequard syndrome? It is seen in extramedullary cord compression. It is on the ipsilateral side. On the ipsilateral side, it's like the lesion is coming like this. So it's a type of hemisection of the spinal cord. The lesion is coming from outside within. So on the ipsilateral side of the lesion, you will get a plantar extensor because of upper motor neuron, pyramidal tract involvement, and on the ipsilateral side, due to involvement of the tract of Gull and Burdock, that is the dorsal column, you will be having loss of proprioception. Proprioception loss. And on the contralateral side, as we know, the spinothalamic tract crosses opposite side at the level of the spinal cord. So on the contralateral side is the central canal. The spinothalamic tract is crossing at the level of spinal cord and is going up. So you will be having touch, pain, temperature, sensation loss on the contralateral side. So this is another presentation of a extramedullary extradural cord compression. Now coming to the second aspect of extramedullary cord compression, that is the lesion is extramedullary but intradural. Extramedullary but intradural, covering the meninges which is covering the spinal cord, the lesion is here. So what are those lesions which are extramedullary intradural lesions? They are usually tumors. Most common meningioma, neurofibromas, chordomas, lipomas, can be malignant sarcomas. These are the conditions that can cause, most commonly, neurofibroma, meningioma. Now this is the tumor. Now the same thing is happening. Vertebra is spared. It is again compressing like this. So the classical presentation of extramedullary intradural cord compression are, they were asymmetric. They are asymmetric. There is no vertebral pain. Vertebral pain is not there because vertebra is spared. But yes, there is heightened root pain. Root pains are heightened because again you can see spinal roots are coming out. So they will compress the root and root pain is overwhelming. No vertebral pain, no vertebral tenderness. May present or may not present with back pain. On palpation, there is no tenderness of the vertebra, nothing like that. So vertebra is spared, asymmetric presentation. root pain is more overwhelming, and the other features what we discussed in the extramedullary cord compression as far as vertebral lesions are concerned, they remain the same, like ascending anesthesia, and sacral involvement, bladder late. So this is in brief what is extramedullary cord compression.